Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Imperial Diecast. And today we are going to take a look at one of the high-profile releases of Solido, a model that is a direct competitor to Maisto's 2020 Shelby GT500 in the same price range. So, ideally, for the comparison, we'll need one Solido and one Maisto, right? But what you have here in front of you is not one, but two 1/18 scale Shelby GT500s by Solido. So I wanted to make a comparison between the Solido and Maisto, and I had ordered the red GT500 by Solido and the white GT500 by Maisto. But the idiot seller also sent me the white one by Solido instead. That's how I ended up with two Solidos. So what I'm going to do is, over the course of this review, I'll just add some commentary to tell you what is different with the Maisto as we take a closer look at these two Solido GT500s. Let's get them out of the box first. So, what is the best budget Shelby GT500? The biggest difference between the Maistos and the Solidos is that the Maistos are fully opening, doors, hood, and trunk, while the Solidos only have opening doors. The second difference is the Solidos have fully raised windows, while the European Maisto Shelby GT500s, just like the American ones, don't have any windows at all. The third difference is that the Solido windows, front, side, and back, have a heavy tint, while the front and rear windshields of the Maisto GT500s don't. There are a few other subtle differences that I will show you over the course of this review, but these are the main ones. Now, are these differences enough to put someone into a dilemma? Not really, because the primary factor is your geographical location. If you live in the US, you don't have much of a dilemma, because in the US, Maisto Shelby GT500s can be had by the pallet loads for $15 at Costco's and Sam's, which is an unbeatable price. And Solidos aren't directly available in the US. You'd have to import them from Europe. So clearly, Maisto is the cheaper, better option in America. If you're in East Asia, you won't find $15 Maisto Shelby GT500s, but you will find Maisto Shelby GT500s with full windows for around $55. While that is a steep price, Solidos also need to be imported from Europe, so again, Maisto is the better choice for just a little bit of extra money, because it's fully opening and has raised windows this time if you buy from China. But if you're in Europe, that's where the dilemma starts, because you have to pay around €35 for the Maisto Shelby GT500s, and for roughly the same price you can also get the Solido Shelby GT500s here. So now you find yourself deciding between fully opening and no windows versus only opening doors and raised windows, and a few other details I will show you over the course of the review. Then there's also the color. Solido has so far made the Shelby in 3 different color options. Red with white stripes, which Maisto does not offer, white with blue stripes, and a metallic blue with white stripes, both of which are offered by Maisto. But Maisto has made the Shelby GT500 in a lot more colors, but some of them are China exclusives, and what that means is that you can only buy them from Chinese retailers like AliExpress and have to basically import them from China, which usually comes with a waiting period of several weeks and import taxes as well. But in terms of colors, next to this white with blue stripes and the metallic blue with white stripes, there's also an orange with black stripes, a light blue with no stripes at all, And then the Chinese exclusive colors, matte black with red stripes, silver with yellow stripes, and red with black stripes. The Chinese Maistos retail for about $55 plus shipping, so something like $70, and then potentially more import duties. So you're looking at a very expensive Maisto if you decide to import it. But they all come with raised windows, which the European and North American retail versions lack. There's an additional important thing, which is that all three Solido colors come with the carbon fiber track pack installed, which consists of these carbon fiber wheels and the huge carbon fiber rear spoiler, but not all of the Maisto colors have the track pack. The white with the blue stripes and the light blue with no stripes, for example, don't have it, and instead come with gloss black wheels and a smaller spoiler. So that's probably the longest intro I have done for a car, and without any further ado, let's get started with the review. So taking a look at the front of the 2020 Shelby GT500 by Solido, the front is arguably the area where it is worse than the Maisto one, and that's because of these headlights. A lot of these Shelby GT500s from Solido had the problem that if you viewed the headlamps from head-on, that they would get fogged up from that particular angle. And that if you'd view them from the side, they would look fine, but like straight up from the front, they would be foggy. That problem does not exist on the Maisto. The Maisto definitely has the better headlights. However, on these two models, I kind of get the feeling that that issue isn't as bad as I have seen on some other Solidos on the internet. Perhaps this is from a later batch where they tried to fix that problem a little bit. I mean, it's still there, but it's not as bad as I thought it would be. So even when viewed from this particular angle, which you normally don't, it's manageable, I think, with these two models. However, I assume that with other Solidos, this can be worse. So just be aware of that fact. Apart from that, though, the headlamps are done well, in the sense that they don't have any pegs, and you can see the three diagonal LEDs in front of the main bulb, and then we also have an orange indicator. And now if we take a look at the giant front grille, you can see that we have the Shelby snake in the middle of the grille, and then this middle bar here is made out of black plastic, and it says GT500, which is actually engraved as a relief onto it. And similarly, we also have Shelby engraved on the gloss black front splitter. The Maisto also has it, but the front splitter is matte black. Next to these side vents here, we also have one separate fog lamp on each flank of the front. And this is made by a separate piece. It's not painted or anything like that, so this is also done very nicely. And now if we move further up, you can see that we have this hood vent. And on the Solido, it's kind of glossy. It looks a little plasticky. I think it looks better on the Maisto because it's matte black there. And then we have these two hood pin areas here. And of course, the white stripes, which go all the way along the hood and then to the top of the car and over to the trunk lid. They're also done pretty well, I'd say. Now, of course, since these are Solidos, the hood cannot be opened, unfortunately, but what you would have inside is a supercharged 5.2-liter Predator V8 producing 760 horsepower. What sucks, though, is that the motor does not meet the emissions regulations in Europe, which means it isn't sold in Europe at Ford dealerships. However, you can import it from the US, but you get ripped off in the process. Because in Europe, you have to pay around 100,000 euros just for the Shelby GT500, but in the US, you can get the Shelby GT500 for 70 grand, which is about 63,000 euros. And while the carbon fiber track pack costs around $20,000 in the US, in Europe it's almost 50,000 euros. So you're paying 150,000 euros in Europe, or almost 180 grand in US dollars as a European, which is a complete ripoff. And now checking out the side of the 2020 Shelby GT500, you can see that the white stripes continue on along the side skirts over here. We of course have the carbon fiber wheels of the carbon fiber track pack, which I'll get to in a second. We then have a Shelby snake logo over here. And it's interesting because it has two mounting points at the top and at the bottom, which makes me think that it would have been a three-dimensional piece, but ultimately Solido decided to just put a slightly raised sticker in its place. But they didn't remove the mounting points on the mold and just painted it over, I'd say. And now checking out the wheels. This is really where I'd say another subtle bonus point goes for the Solido compared to the Maisto, namely that the carbon fiber detailing on the rims is actually done in a higher quality than on the Maisto, because here you can see that they kind of shine a little bit. They have that sheen, which is lacking on the Maisto. And then you can also see that the 5 lug nuts around the center lock are also painted in silver, which is again something that I don't think exists on the Maisto. We have red brake calipers with Brembo written on them, just like on the Maisto. And regarding the brake discs, this is where things get really interesting. The front brake discs actually move through the caliper, as they should. But on the rear wheels, you can see that the brake discs here do not move at all. So this is the only diecast car that I know of where the discs move at the front, but they remain stationary at the back. Very weird. What's also interesting is that we have 2 brake calipers here, but the second one is not painted in red and is instead the same color as the brake disc. So they could have done a better job here. And now let's talk about the turn radius of the wheels. And this is another critique point of the Solido, because the turn radius is just this much. See that? That's not much at all. It like barely turns. And I believe the Maisto has a better turn radius than this. The wing mirrors are in black. However, they're in gloss black and they don't have any kind of carbon fiber texture on them. On the Maisto, it's just matte black. And over here, we have the rear spoiler. And the carbon fiber texture on the rear wing is pretty decent. It isn't matte like on most Maistos, but has a shine to it. And then at the bottom, you can see that the 2 struts that are holding up the rear spoiler are also perforated and not a single piece. So that's an additional level of detail that you get here. Also worth mentioning, the Maisto has suspension, but the Solido does not. And now checking out the back of the 2020 Shelby GT500, you can see that the back is also done pretty nicely. I mean, I think they nailed the look of the taillights on this one. We've got the Shelby GT500 snake on the rear license plate. And a closer look at the taillights shows you that they look really good. It's really hard for me to say whether they're better or worse than the Maisto. You be the judge of that. And now moving further down, this is arguably another area where the Solido outperforms the Maisto, in the sense that these tailpipes are thin and more realistic looking, because on the Maisto, the rims of the tailpipes are extremely thick and it just looks comical, whereas here, they're shaped really nicely. Above the exhaust pipes, you also have a rear braking light, which is missing on the Maisto. And then, of course, you have another light here on the rear overhang. And if you pay close attention, you can see that Solido has even modeled defroster lines on the rear windshield. I'm not sure if that kind of detail exists on the Maisto. And now let's check out the interior of the 2020 Shelby GT500. And as we do, you can see that we have a pretty fair amount of details going on here. We have an LCD screen with some writing on it, although I can't read it. We have the controls for the radio and climate below. We have some other inscriptions down there. I'm not sure what exactly it's supposed to say, because my camera won't really focus. And then at the top we have some gauges in the middle, next to the climate control vents. And then here we have a cup holder, and of course you can see the 7-speed dual clutch transmission. This is an automatic. And now let's check out the seats, because you can see that they have white side bolstering, which is again a small extra detail that is not there on the Maisto. And we also get the Shelby logos on the seat backs. On the Maisto they're on the headrests. And because this is the carbon fiber track package, the rear seats have been removed to save some additional weight. Not sure if that's there on the Maisto. Door panel detail is adequate. We have the door handle painted in silver. And we have this grab handle here, also painted in silver. And then we have a little speaker to the left of the door handle. So yeah. And here's another look at the tint of the raised window. So that's pretty good. And now checking out the driver's side of the 2020 Shelby GT500, you can see that the steering wheel looks pretty detailed. In fact, I think that the Shelby snake on the steering wheel is slightly raised. Let's see if we can zoom in. Hard to say, but it certainly looks good. You can even see all the small buttons on each of the spokes of the steering wheel on both sides. And then we have the gauges at the back, which also look good. We have one more button over here. And then down there you can see the pedals. They are painted in silver. Unfortunately, there's no dorsal branding. But yeah, I mean, it's a pretty good interior, I'd say. Here's the interior under the flash, and you can see how well the gauges look. You can read almost everything on them. And the LCD screen also seems to light up a little under this lighting, which is really cool. Center gauges as well, really nice. So yeah, pretty awesome. And now checking out the underside of the car, you can see that it says Ford Shelby GT500 118 by Solido. You got some transmission detail there. Exhaust system is painted in silver all the way. Got your mufflers and your exhaust tips. And that's about it. It doesn't even say that it's made in China, and that's because this is made in Bangladesh. But it doesn't say that here either. You gotta look at the box for that. Really nice color combo. So yeah guys, I hope you liked my review of the 1/18 scale 2020 Shelby GT500 by Solido. And here at the end of the video, I'd like to ask you whether you prefer the red with white stripes or the white with blue stripes. Let me know in the comments. And as always, take care, have a wonderful day. I hope I could help you out a little bit in your purchasing decision. And as always, take care. This is Imperial Diecast, signing out.